Hi, I'm Jeanette. This is a chair yoga class, and there's a couple different ways that you can use this. One is if you are working from home right now and you're feeling really like slumped over all the time, and this is actually something you can bring back to the office with you whenever that happens. Um, just ways that you can kind of like correct your posture and open up the front side of the body, which tends to get really closed off when we're sitting for long periods of time. So I'm going to break it into sections, and you'll see. So if you want to just kind of like scroll through the video and find the parts that are relevant to you, it'll be broken up. We're going to have a little section of warm-ups, then a little bit kind of getting into the legs, then we'll do the heart, chest, upper body, shoulders, things like that. And then I'll show you some different variations of sun salutations if you want to bring that into the practice, as well as a balance pose and then a little cool down and a Savasana and some different kind of versions of Savasana. So I want to show you the chair that I'm using for this practice. And this is a really nice thing because if you saw the yoga props video that I posted a couple weeks back, there's all kinds of things around the house that you can use to modify your yoga practice. And I've really been appreciating being able to do that in my home practice in this quarantine time, because for a lot of this period, I've been actually feeling really under the weather. So having those little tools and resources to make my practice a little gentler or more modified has been really useful to me. But sometimes we find that we don't have all the things that we would want to substitute for what we're used to having in the yoga studio or the gym. So a chair is something most of us do have, and that's why I think this is a really good practice to offer. So one thing about a chair that you'll use for yoga that's important is that it doesn't have arms, which this one doesn't. An open back is really nice, and this is the closest thing that I have at my house to an open back chair, so it's just what I'm going to use. But you can look around and see what you have. We're not going to do anything that will require you to like stick your limbs through the chair, which is one of the reasons why we normally like to have that open back. So something like this will do. This one also has a little cushion on it, so I'm just going to remove that because I think it's going to be a lot easier to use without the pillow. And then some other things that you might want. I'm going to offer variations or modifications on some of these poses. So a block or something like a block, like a really thick book could be useful. Something like a bolster, a really good thick pillow, or maybe a couple pillows. Sometimes when I don't have this to use, I just stuff a few pillows inside one large pillowcase, or I wrap a big blanket around some pillows and just try to force them into kind of the rounder bolster shape. You may also find that having kind of a square, smaller, like a sofa pillow or one of your bed pillows probably also could work for this. So those are some of the tools you'll need. I hope this practice offers you little ways to kind of vary up your yoga practice. Maybe just try something new if you've never tried a chair yoga practice before and see how you like it. Let's get started. So we're going to begin here by just warming up the body a little bit, and at the same time just practicing how we want to sit in the chair. So throughout the whole practice, as you're moving your body around, you want to maintain this same kind of posture. So we're going to start with these really small movements, and you can kind of see how it feels to remain seated in the chair and maintain that posture using the muscles in your core to stay seated the way you want to be seated. So I recommend kind of scooting up a little closer to the edge of your chair and letting your feet be flat on the floor. This is where it can be nice to have a block. If you feel like the floor is a little bit far away from your feet, then you can place your feet on top of a block, or like I said before, you can use a book or anything that kind of brings the floor to you. So once you've got your feet comfortably resting on the mat or something else, just kind of feel the floor underneath your feet and get that sense of grounding here. Let the palms of the hands rest in the lap or just kind of on tops of the thighs, and you can use the palms of the hands, just kind of press down. Feel your spine lengthen up. So getting taller as you sit, feeling your seat root down, but feeling the sternum lifting away from the pelvis. And allow your shoulders to soften down the back. And for me, the command to relax the shoulders usually doesn't actually cause anything to happen because my shoulders are so in the habit of tensing, right? So for me, that actually requires a big movement. Rolling the shoulders up to the ears and then letting them slide down in a big exaggerated way. And that usually kind of gets me where I need to go. That's the case for any part of your body where the sort of invitation to relax doesn't actually cause relaxation, right? You can give it a little help with a bigger movement. So the shoulders are dropping away from the ears. There's more space between your shoulders and your ears here than there was before, hopefully, but the chest is lifted. So there's a slight feeling of the shoulder blades kind of moving closer together. The chin is slightly tucked down to the chest, but you're lifting up through the crown of your head. So imagining there's like a little marionette string attached to the top of your head that's kind of pulling you up a little taller. And let's just begin here with a few rounds of breath. So feeling the inhales and exhales come in and out through your nose. Allow the eyes to close if the eyelids feel heavy and they want to drift shut, or just gazing softly to the tip of the nose. Softening all the little muscles in your face, in the neck, and in the shoulders. You might begin to fire up your Ujjayi breath here by gently constricting the back of the throat. So feeling the breath washing over the back of the throat and hearing the sound of the breath, that kind of ocean sound between your ears. As you're sitting here, feeling deeper movement in the ribs and in the belly, right? And just noticing how holding the posture of your seat and using your breath, right? Those are strengths that really kind of help each other out. So as you're breathing, moving the muscles in your core, it's helping you sit up taller and stronger, but you're also rooting into the bottoms of the feet. You're using the pressure of the palms on tops of the legs and you're getting taller. All together, we'll take a deep inhale, breath through the nose. And exhale through the nose. And inhale, breath through the nose. And a cleansing breath through the mouth. If you'd like to open your eyes, you can blink them open whenever you're ready. We're going to start by just gently kind of moving the feet. So you can kind of wiggle your toes a little bit here. Maybe pick up your toes, spread them out, and then set them back down on the mat. One foot at a time, we're going to alternate lifting the toes. So just lifting the right toes, setting them down, and then lifting the left toes and setting them down. And while you're doing this, right, you're doing a little movement, seeing if you can maintain the posture. Your navel is drawing back so the spine is lengthening up. You're nice and strong and solid through your body. You can begin to lift and lower the toes together. So right and left toes lifting and lowering at the same time. As you're doing this, feeling the bottoms of the feet root into all four corners. So all across the kind of pad at the top of the foot and then down through both corners of the heels. So just really feeling rooted here. Go ahead and lower your toes, and we're going to start by alternating lifting heels. So inhale, lift the right heel up. Lower it down, and then the left heel. So just alternating one foot or one heel at a time. And then beginning to do both together. So inhale, lift the heels up, and exhale, lower them down. And this feels a little different, right? So this might be, when I do this, I feel this kind of almost like I want to start like a rocking horse, this kind of movement here. So trying to see if we can steady through your body as the heels lift and lower. So allowing the legs to move and not creating any waves through the rest of your body. Go ahead and lower the heels down here. And we're going to lift the leg all the way off the mat. So as you're sitting, the palms of the hands root down. As you do this, we're going to lift one leg. So you might feel your weight shifting over kind of into the other hip. And that's okay as long as you're remaining nice and tall through your body and you're not going into a tilt or collapsing in the sides of your body. So again, sitting up nice and tall, maybe shift a little bit over into your left foot so you can pick up the right foot. You might even help it along by kind of pulling the knee up a little bit, and then you're going to extend the leg out in front of you. Bend your knee, set the foot back down. And then we'll do the other side. So maybe kind of supporting, lifting the knee, sending the heel out and away, and then bringing it back in and down. And you're going to alternate this as well. So this doesn't have to be coming straight out level with your hip. It can be wherever you want it to be. And if lifting your foot all the way up off the mat doesn't seem like a good option for you at this point in the practice, then maybe you just send one heel out, letting it rest on the mat, and then bring it back in. See if as you're doing that you can practice just lifting the foot up a little bit in between. So feeling the kind of the shifting of the weight from side to side and remaining strong through your body. So again, it's okay if the body shifts a little bit, but you don't want to tilt all the way, right? You want to hold that strength throughout. So go ahead and bring your feet flat. Again, we're going to bring our attention into the upper body here. So again, sitting up nice and tall. As you inhale, you're going to roll your shoulders up to the ears. Exhale, slide them down the back. And then we're going to do a circle in the other direction. Draw the shoulder blades back together up to the ears on the inhale. Exhale, round forward. And then press down into the palms of the hands. Sit up nice and tall. Feel the navel pull back to the spine. We're just going to come into the neck a little bit here on an exhale, letting the chin drop to the chest. You can remain here, or you can use your hands to deepen this lengthening in the back of the neck. If you interlace your fingers, place the hands gently on the back of the neck or the base of the skull. Allow the weight of your elbows to hang down and lengthen the back of the neck a little more. And then separate your hands, letting them drop back to the lap. Inhaling to roll the right ear over to the right shoulder. And here you can bring that right arm up over the top of your head. Just let the hand rest on the ear if you like to add some length. Release the hand and roll your chin back to the chest on the exhale. Inhale, roll the left ear over to the left shoulder. Same thing on this side. You can bring the arm up and over. Let the hand rest on top of the ear. And release your hand. Exhale, roll the chin back to the chest. Maybe a few more like this, half circles, chin to chest, ear to shoulder. And with an inhale, as the chin rolls back to the chest, you're just going to kind of roll your head up, let it stack on top of your spine. And again, just check in with your posture. Are you sitting up nice and tall? Inhale to reach your arms all the way up overhead here. And we're going to exhale, we're going to fold all the way down. So arms open wide like a swan dive as you fold forward over your legs. As you inhale, roll yourself up slowly and bring your hands again to rest on tops of the thighs. We're going to do a little upright seated cow and cat. So as you inhale, you're going to bring the chest forward by drawing the shoulder blades back. And it might feel a little bit like you're rolling the shoulders like we've been doing, right? So kind of pulling the front body forward. If your neck will allow you to tilt your chin up a bit here, you can. But if that doesn't feel good to the neck, don't force it. As you exhale, push your palms into the tops of the thighs as you round back. Rounding the shoulders, opening up the space between them, maybe letting the chin hang to the chest if the back of the neck is okay with that. Inhale again to come forward, lift the front, or lift the chest and open the front body, and round it back on the exhale. We're going to do 3 more of these. So on your own breath, inhaling forward, exhaling back. After your next rounded cat spine, inhale, come back into a neutral spine. Hands in the lap, sitting up nice and tall through the sternum. Shoulders relaxed down away from the ears. Feet rooted firmly into the mat. Take a breath. So in this section, we are going to focus on the legs and the lower body, the hips as well. So some of the things that you might want for this are that sort of smaller square pillow, like your sofa-sized pillow. Something smaller probably than a bolster. And then I forgot to tell you in the intro that you might want a strap for this part because we're going to stretch the hamstrings. I don't have a strap like the one that you would see at a yoga studio, so I've just been using this stretchy kind of Pilates band in its place. You can use a necktie, you could use a belt, really anything that you have around the house that extends your arms, basically, gives you a little longer reach. So we're just going to start seated. I'm kind of scooting myself up a little bit in the chair. And apologies, it actually has been kind of difficult for me to figure out how to position myself and the camera so that you can see my feet and the top of my head. At the same time, I don't quite have enough space to really get it all in. So I'll try to fill you in on what might be missing from the frame. So just kind of feeling your feet on the floor again here, lifting up through your sternum, letting the shoulders slide down. The back hands can be resting in your lap. And as you inhale, just kind of slide your right heel away from you, extending your leg. And if you need to scoot yourself up in the chair at all to get that extension, you're welcome to do that. So you're really flexing that right foot so the toes are kind of curling back toward you and just beginning to feel active through the back of your leg. You can take a couple breaths with this. And if that feels fine or that feels like enough for you, then you can stay with that. But if you want to go a little deeper, you can do a couple different things. One is to take that strap, or whatever you're using as a strap. You can loop it over the bottom of the foot. Just kind of pull back on the strap. I was going to wrap my hands around because mine's stretchy, which means I need to kind of increase the resistance, right? So as you're kind of pulling back, press your toes forward into the strap. That feels like a little too much for me because mine, like I said, is stretchy. Doesn't push back quite as much, so I'm even wrapping up my hands a little further. So now as I'm pressing into it with my foot, I'm really feeling the muscles in my legs come alive. So that's one way that you can modify this. The other way is to make it more of a forward fold. So as you're here, you're really flexing out through that right heel, and you can begin to fold forward, letting your chest lead the way. So kind of letting the sternum begin to lead you forward. And you don't have to go all the way forward like you might if you were in a standing or even a seated on the floor forward fold, just enough till you feel a little bit of activation coming up the back of the leg into your muscles. Maybe give it about 5 breaths. That's usually my average kind of count for poses that I'm holding. As you inhale, just back out really slowly. Take your foot flat on the floor, and then we'll go to the other side. So letting that left leg extend, toes are flexed. And again, you might stay right here. You might take the strap and kind of loop it over your foot. You might be folding forward a little bit. So just kind of letting yourself take this wherever it needs to go. And observing as you're going through it, how much similarity there is between sides. You might try it on the first side and one thing happens and then you go to the next side and it feels different. So just kind of let yourself go with whatever the body offers. Once you've taken your 5 or so breaths here, you can go ahead and take your foot, place it flat on the floor again. Maybe come up on the toes a little bit, just kind of move your legs around. We're going to take this into a pigeon pose to get into the hips a little bit. So if you pick up your right knee, you might just kind of hug it toward the chest a little bit here. Maybe grab your heel and just kind of guide it so that your ankle rests on top of the left knee. And you can take your right hand and just kind of press down into that right knee as much as feels good. You can really flex this foot here so that that kind of activates all the way through your leg. And this might be really good. You might stay with this. Or if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can do, we call it cradling the baby. If you slide your arms underneath the bottom half of your leg and just kind of pick it up. So you're kind of pulling your shin bone and your calf muscle toward you. And honestly, this is not really necessary. I think if we do any of the variations from here with the ankle resting on the knee, we can get a lot from this, right? So there's no need to go any further than you really need to. And again, just giving it about 5 breaths. Then we'll gently uncross and always give yourself support, right? So if you want to kind of scoop your hand underneath your foot to support the heel as that foot comes back to the floor, do whatever you need to do to make these movements feel accessible. So we're going to go to the other side, first picking up the knee, maybe kind of guiding the heel so that the ankle comes to sit across the top of the thigh. Again, always just checking in as you're kind of moving through the postures. When you come into the shape that you're looking for, that you're sitting up tall, your shoulders are relaxed down the back, your chest is nice and open. And again, you can have your left foot flexed here. You can be just gently kind of pressing down on the knee so that it helps guide the hip into a more open shape. And when you are ready to come out of this shape, again, just giving yourself whatever support you need with your hands to bring your foot back to the floor. So we're going to come now into a Warrior Two variation here using the chair. And this is where you may want to use your pillow. So one thing that you can do is place the pillow underneath you to sit. And you might find as we're going through this that this is going to be a really nice modification for you. So from here, you're just going to step your feet out to the side. We're going to start with the right leg. So we're going to be turning ourselves a little bit. So that right leg, the right toes are really going to be kind of pointing straight out from the side of the chair. Your left leg is going to kind of scoot its way out. It's a little more awkward getting into Warrior Two from here because we're not standing up. We can't just kind of throw our legs out however we want to, right? So as you're opening up here, see if you can take those left toes and kind of turn them in just a little bit. And see if you kind of root into the outer edges of both feet. Sitting up on this pillow might be really helpful to you here. Another way that you can modify this, if the pillow isn't quite working for you or you just don't like it, you can actually take this leg that's straight, your left leg, just kind of pull it in as much as you need to. So you'll feel still a nice kind of stretch on the inner thighs here, but maybe you're only about halfway out to having the leg straight. So wherever you are is great. Once you've found that position here, rooting into the outer edges of both of your feet and feeling how your legs can be really active. You're supported by the chair. I'm actually not quite supported enough. There we go. You really want to have your whole thigh supported by the chair itself. And then stacking your shoulders over your hips, you can reach your arms out from your shoulders, extending out through your fingertips, like someone's kind of caught you by the wrists and they're trying to pull you in opposite directions, gazing out over that right middle finger. Just take a couple breaths. You can always close your eyes as you're holding. Always staying soft around the eyes. And then when you are ready to come out, I always bring my hands back to the center of the chair just to give me a little support as I kind of shift. Ugh. Turn yourself, and so we're going to go to the left now. So you're starting to kind of turn, and again, you want the whole thigh to be supported on the chair. So sliding that right leg out, turning the toes in a little bit. Maybe you sit up on a pillow, or maybe you bring that leg in a little bit so that you feel like you can get a hip opening position, but something that is sustainable for you here. So you can stack your shoulders over the hips, so you're long through the spine, lifted through the chest, maybe gazing out over that left middle finger as you extend the arms. Really active in the legs, active through the spine, active through the arms. Lots of energy here, rooting down through the feet, especially into the outer edges. And then when you are ready, again, just bringing your hands to the chair so you can kind of scoot yourself back into the center, walk your feet back around in front of you. And we're going to come into a pyramid pose next. And this is actually going to be a standing pose. So if you feel comfortable standing for this, that's great. If you don't, then you can skip this one. So for this pyramid pose, I've actually turned my mat to the side so that you can see this view of what I'm doing. And I think it's really important for this pose, or poses like this where we're kind of pushing into the chair, that you do have a sticky mat underneath you, because it'll just kind of keep the chair from sliding around. If you don't have a mat, one thing that you can do is actually turn your chair so that it's kind of up against the wall. And that way you can do that and it won't go anywhere. So there are two ways you can do this. One is to have the back of the chair facing you. This is a little bit of a gentler version. The other way is to have the chair flipped around so that you'll actually be holding on to the seat. So I'm going to start with the back of the chair facing me. And so pyramid pose, you're going to start with your hands resting on the back of the chair, and you want to be able to kind of fully extend your arms from where you are. So hands resting on the back of the chair, your feet can be about hips width apart. We're going to take a step back first with the left leg. So as you step back, you want to be able to keep your hips squaring forward, so kind of pulling back on that right hip. And if you feel like it would be helpful to you, you can kind of heel toe that right foot over once or twice until you really feel that sort of forward-facing hip position. All your toes can be facing the same direction. Maybe your left toes will be turned out just a little bit to the side, but this is not a huge, long stance. It's usually, I think I probably only have like 2 feet between my 2 feet. It's not a very long stance. So your hands can be resting on the back of the chair, and you're going to lead with your heart. So you're going to start to fold forward. You're going to maybe feel the back of your leg kind of activating here. If you're wanting to go a little bit deeper, then flipping the chair around so that you'll have your hands on the seat of the chair. If you feel comfortable starting without your hands placed there already, you could start to lean forward and then bring your arms down. Or you could begin with your hands here so that you're kind of like you did with the back of the chair, just feet about hips width apart, then stepping back. Maybe heel toeing that right foot over just a little bit. And reaching forward through your sternum. You can take it a little bit deeper here if you like, maybe bending your elbows. So like any of the other poses here, we'll hold for about 5 breaths. And then gently press up. So extending your arms. We're just going to step forward with the left leg, and we'll go to the other side. So again, you can either have the back of the chair facing you or the seat. So I'm just going to keep mine here. I'm going to have my hands placed on the back of the chair. I'm going to take my feet about hips width apart, and then I'm going to step the right leg back. So finding that right distance between my feet, maybe heel toeing the left foot over just a little bit, reaching through the sternum, pulling that left foot back, and feeling the tailbone really reach back. You can even kind of use your hands, kind of push away from the chair, and then fold a little bit deeper. And an inhale will bring you up. So beginning to extend your arms if your elbows are bent. Let the chair support your hands as you step that right foot up. Gently push yourself away from the chair to stand all the way up. For this section of the practice, we're gonna stick to kind of the upper body, the chest, the torso, a little bit in the shoulders. So we'll start with our hands in our lap, and we're just going to repeat some of those cow-cat movements that we did while we're sitting upright here. So maybe letting the hands rest in the lap, and as you inhale, just kind of drawing the shoulders back, bringing the chest forward, maybe tilting the gaze up gently as you open the front body, and then exhaling, palms push into the tops of the thighs as you round back. So just using your breath a couple times to bring you back and forth. And we're basically going to be alternating these shapes for the next few movements. You can stick with this, or if you want to add your arms to deepen, then as you come forward on the inhale, you can open your arms out to this side, bend your elbows and draw the shoulder blades together. Again, the chin can tilt up slightly. On the exhale, as you round back, flip your palms down, or maybe turn the palms back behind you as you hang the head. So your movements now are going to be kind of including the arms and letting the shoulders be a little bit more involved. And then if you want to go even a little bit deeper here with this, then the next time you inhale to come forward, you can let the arms reach all the way up overhead. The fingers can interlace, and though you can't see me, you're going to be flipping your palms up. So as I extend my arms, the palms are pressing up toward the ceiling. Then I'm bending the elbows. So again, the chin might be tilting up. The chest is reaching forward. The shoulder blades are drawing together. Keeping your hands as they are as you exhale to round back, you're going to extend your arms straight out from the shoulders, pressing the palms away from you like you're kind of pushing into a wall, allowing you to round the shoulders back even more as you hang the chin to the chest. So we'll just do a few more cycles of this movement. You can choose any of the variations that you like. And the next time you bring the chest forward, we'll go ahead and reach both of the arms up. You can separate your hands here, and you're going to grab onto your right wrist with your left hand. As you inhale, you're going to pull up on your wrist, so feeling long down the side of the body, kind of up the side into your armpit. And as you exhale, you're going to take a little side bend here, so really kind of pulling your wrist. Really feeling that side body elongate. Then on an exhale, you're going to pull forward on your wrist. So imagine you're kind of pressing your palm into a wall in front of you, and your chin can hang down, the shoulders round. So kind of feeling this move down your back a little bit. As you inhale, you're gently going to roll yourself up, separate your hands, take them down behind the back, interlace the fingers at the base of the spine, and press down. So for me, before I go into my deepest expression of this, my knuckles kind of hit the chair. So maybe you kind of pull forward and press down into the chair, and that will allow you a little bit more of an upward movement through the chest. Then we'll inhale to reach up again. This time we're going to grab the left wrist and the right hand, pulling up on an inhale, exhaling over to the side, getting into that lateral bend. Try to keep your left shoulder kind of pulling back here. If you want to add a little energy to this, you can always look up. Looking up always awakens the pose, kind of looking up into that elbow there. Then on an exhale, pulling forward on the wrist, rounding, and you'll let the chin hang to the chest here for this. Inhale to sit up, release the wrist, take the hands down behind the back. So maybe the fingers interlace behind you, or maybe you press the fingertips down into the chair to lift and open up the chest. As you inhale, go ahead and come back to a neutral spine, reaching your arms all the way up. Inhale, lift up, lengthen as much as you can through the fingertips, through the sternum. Then exhale, soften the shoulders down away from the ears. Inhale again, just lifting up through the fingertips without letting the shoulders rise. And on an exhale, we're going to take a twist. So actually, we'll start by going to the right. We're going to turn, opening up, let your arms open. Your front hand might come down and rest on your knee. For me, my forearm's just kind of landing on the back of the chair, so I'm going to start there. Lifting up by pressing down into the chair and into the top of the thigh, lengthen up. And as you exhale, use that leverage so you can go a little deeper into the twist. With every inhale, see if you can sit up a little bit taller. And with every exhale, see if you can go a little bit deeper. And as you're doing that, you might kind of move your hand around. So I've got my arm resting over the back of the chair, but since I have these little rungs, I'm actually going to grab the rung and see if that helps me go deeper, or maybe even grab that bottom rung and take it around. And you can experiment with that however you like. As you inhale, reach up, rotate yourself forward, arms reach up, lengthen up. On the inhale, and then on the exhale, we're going to open to the left. So as you turn yourself open, you want to make sure the twist is originating at the waist. So it's really easy to twist and just move the shoulders or let the hips twist. And I think I kind of noticed myself doing it on the other side. If you feel your knee kind of sliding out in front of the other one, that means your hips are turning. So really allowing this to originate, there's like a little line right around your belly button, right? That's kind of where you want the twist to start. So as you reach up on the exhale, drawing the navel back, letting that initiate the movement into the twist. Finding your arms wherever they rest, root down on the inhale to lengthen up. As you exhale, see if you can go a little deeper. You might be turning your head to look over your left shoulder, so taking the twist all the way up into your neck. Glance down at your knees. If you see that right knee sneaking forward, draw it back. Let the twist come from the waist. On an inhale, release, reach your arms up. On the exhale, we're going to open the arms wide. We're going to drop into a forward fold. So just rounding yourself forward here. Let your chest land on tops of the thighs. Let your arms dangle heavily, kind of like ragdoll. Let your neck relax as the head drops down. On an inhale, roll yourself up slowly. So let your head and your arms just kind of dangle heavily as you sit up. And when the shoulders come to stack over the hips, just kind of roll the shoulders a couple times. Forward, up, back, and down. And then you can reverse your circles, take them the other way. Back, up, over the top, forward. So this is a really great sequence to do while you're sitting just in your desk chair, while you're working in your Zoom conferences that are going on all day, just in between calls. Maybe take a little stretch, or this is just a really good add-in to this full practice. This is also a really good thing to do when you're sitting on a plane or in the airport waiting, although I know travel has been a little restricted lately, but whenever those things begin to happen again, these are things that you can use anytime you just find yourself sitting for any prolonged period of time. The next thing I'm going to show you is going to be a downward dog in using the chair. This can be useful in doing the sun salutation versions that I'm going to show you. One will use this, the other one will not. So if you're going to do the version of sun salutations that doesn't use downward dog, then you might just want to do this separately at points throughout the practice or anytime during the day. So like our pyramid pose, you can have your chair facing either way. It can be facing, you can be standing up next to the back of the chair, or you can be facing the seat of the chair. So just like your pyramid, you're going to kind of let your arms extend, but your feet are going to be set back a little more. So thinking about what we are doing in downward dog is kind of stretching out the backs of the legs, but also the spine and activating the shoulders. So as you kind of walk your feet back here, let your heels drive down, press your hands into the chair and lengthen your spine. So the tailbone is going to reach back, Your chest is opening up here. You can let your head just kind of hang down. So like downward dog, not holding any tension in the neck. It's a little hard to see my full body in the frame here because of the way the camera is, but hopefully you've got the idea here. You can really feel this through your shoulders. If you want to do it facing the front, or the seat of the chair rather, then you're going to turn that to face you, and it's actually going to do the same thing. It's just that your hands are going to be on the seat. So as you walk your feet back, again, they're going to be walked a lot farther away than you had them in your pyramid pose. So driving your heels down, reaching back through your tailbone, letting your spine get long here, and just letting your chest kind of drop into it as much as it wants to go. The head is heavy, the neck is relaxed. And this is actually a version of downward dog that I actually prefer a lot of times to the real one on the mat, because my shoulders are just able to get such a deeper stretch here. You can also do a similar thing on the wall if you just kind of push your hands into the wall, walk your feet back. And like downward dog, you can kind of pedal your feet here. You can do any of those little movements that you like. To come out of the pose, you're going to look forward. You're maybe going to come up onto your toes and start to walk your feet back toward the chair, and then just gently press yourself up. So we're going to talk about one version of sun salutations that you can do. And this is another one that you can do with the chair turned either way. I prefer to put my hands on the seat because it gives me a little bit of a deeper stretch through the shoulders. So this is going to be actually a lot like sun salutations that you might have seen or done before, just using the chair instead of the floor. So you're going to stand a little bit away, and the thing is, when you do this, you kind of already want to be where you found yourself in that downward dog. So you want to have the space to step your feet back and get that long stretch through your spine. So that's about how far away from the chair you want to be. So you're going to start by inhaling to reach your arms all the way up. And as you exhale to fold, you're going to take your hands down so that your fingertips rest on the chair. Finding a halfway lift as you inhale, lengthening through your sternum, reaching back through your tailbone, exhaling to fold a little bit deeper here. You can let your spine just kind of gently fall into this. Your neck is relaxed. And I like to hold here a little bit. It just feels so good to lengthen through the backs of the legs. On your inhale, you're going to look forward and you're going to shift forward. We're going to find a plank. So make sure your hands are really squarely resting on top of the chair, and you can kind of step your toes back to find a plank. You might have your fingers curling down around the sides of the chair. Really press down into your hands so that you're lifting up, lengthen through the chest. This is going to become a chaturanga, so coming forward on the toes. Exhale, bend your elbows even just a little tiny bit. And then inhale, press up, finding your cobra pose, using the downward pressing of your hands to really lift up out of your shoulders. As you exhale, pressing back into that downward dog. If you need to step your feet back a little bit here to find that sense of length through the backs of the legs, that's fine. Inhale, gaze forward. You're going to walk your feet up to the chair. Is another version of sun salutations. It's much gentler, and it actually doesn't involve standing up. So it might feel really modified to you, but it's definitely great for days that you have less energy or you're just feeling a little bit more wobbly. Maybe your balance isn't where you'd like it to be, but you can still get some of the same benefits. I also want to mention that if you're not really up to doing a full sun salutation sort of cycle movement, just doing a few of those cow-cat alternating movements of the spine is a really good alternative as well. And this is actually maybe going to feel a little bit similar to that. So sitting up in your chair here, feet on the floor, lengthening up through your spine. You're going to inhale to reach your arms all the way up. And as you exhale, you're going to open the arms and fold forward over your legs. Let the neck relax here as the head hangs down. And then as you inhale, walk your hands up to your knees. Press your palms into the tops of the thighs and lift through the chest. Exhale again to fold all the way down. As you inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. And then instead of your downward dog, we're going to take a nice open chest. So elbows pull down as the chest lifts up. And exhaling, we're going to round the shoulders back. Give yourself a hug. Let the chin hang to the chest. Inhale, reach up again. Elbows pull down, chest lifts. This time, as you exhale to round back, you're going to bring your other arm across the top. So as you give yourself a hug, you're just alternating sides. As you inhale, roll yourself up, place your hands back in your lap, and breathe. This is a version of Warrior 3. This is a balancing pose for you to try in your practice today. You might want to step a little bit away from your chair and then reach out to see if you can get a good amount of extension in your arm and your arms in your spine before you begin. You're going to want to be supported by the chair before we begin. This is a balancing pose where you're supporting yourself on one leg and the other leg is lifted up behind you. So we're going to start with the feet about hips width apart. We're going to shift the weight over into the right foot. You're just going to kind of send that left heel back. So as your leg lifts, you want to bring it up to about hip height. I know you can't see my foot in the frame, but you're really flexing your heel back and you want your toes to be turned down, so kind of rotating your kneecap toward the mat. Here, if you have enough extension in your arms to kind of drop into it, you can bend your elbows a little bit and see if you can parallel your body and that extended leg to the mat. And just hold onto the chair for as much support as you need. Like any of our other standing poses, you can have your hands on the back of the chair or you can be holding onto the seat of the chair. So when you're ready to come out of it, press down into your hands, extend your arms, bring your feet together. Maybe do a little movement here, kind of wiggle things out before we go to the other side. So rooting down into the left foot, just kind of shifting your weight over, lightening up on that right heel, and then you're going to send the right leg back. Really press out through that right heel, turn the kneecap down toward the mat. See if you can parallel your leg and your torso to the mat as much as possible. And then as you inhale, press down into your hands to lift up, bring your feet together. You can walk your feet up to the chair and stand. So we're going to revisit here some of the things that we did earlier in the practice, and you can either stick with some of those same variations or you have some options here to go a bit deeper with it if you like. We're going to stretch the hamstrings. So if you want to use your strap again, you can loop it over the bottom of your foot. Maybe wrap your hands a little bit if you've got something real stretchy. So sitting up again, letting that right leg extend, you can be pressing your foot into your strap, or you can lift your heel up and just kind of pressing out through your foot. If you're not using a strap, then hands on top of the thighs and just kind of pressing it, like you're kind of pushing into a gas pedal, right? And then we'll take the other side when you're ready. So letting the left leg extend, maybe with your strap or maybe not. And again, these poses can be held for 5 breaths, maybe 3 breaths for a little shorter or longer if you're just loving this moment of lengthening the backs of the legs. Go ahead and bring your feet back together again. So I'm going to show you 2 different versions of another pose. This is going to be sort of different versions of Janusharasana, which is in the chair is more focused on the hamstrings. Sitting on the floor, if you're comfortable getting down on the floor, will also give you a little bit of hip opening. So you're going to let your hands rest in your lap. You're going to slide your right leg out. So this is a lot like what we just did, right, to kind of warm us into it. You're going to press into your foot like you're pushing on a gas pedal, and you can fold into it. And so this is very similar to what we started with, just kind of beginning to round over your legs. Your hands will slide down a little bit. You can kind of brace yourself with the hands on the thighs as you fold. And then we'll do the other side as well. And so you can give this as much time as you want. I'm kind of just quickly showing you this version since it's really similar to what we did at the beginning of the practice. And then I'll show you the other version, which involves sitting on the ground. So again, if you're not comfortable with getting down on the floor, then you can just stick with this version and hold each side for as long as you like. To come onto the floor, you are going to sit down, and this is where it can be really nice to have a big pillow or a bolster to sit on. So you're going to sit facing your chair, and you want to sit facing the seat of the chair. So you're going to sit on your big pillow with your legs extended out underneath the chair in front of you. And I like to sit pretty close to the edge. It just gives me a little bit more mobility with my legs. So we're going to start with the right leg. The left leg stays extended and that left foot is flexed. You're going to bring the right foot in so that your foot sits right next to your knee on the inner thigh. Then you're going to take the palm of your hand to your knee and you're going to open up so that the sole of your right foot is kind of pressing into your inner thigh. As you inhale, you can sit up. And as you exhale, you can kind of slide your hands along the chair as you fold forward. And you can let your spine round here. Just let your forehead drop down. As you inhale, roll up slowly. You can hold the chair for stability if you like. Go ahead and bring that foot flat to the floor again, and then let the leg extend. So we'll come to the other side by bringing the left foot in, and then opening the knee out to the side. You can make little adjustments here. I always feel a bit wobbly on my pillow. Flex the right foot. Slide your hands out along the chair as you fold forward. And as you inhale, roll yourself up slowly. Again, supporting yourself with the hands on the chair, you can bring your feet flat to the mat and you can kind of scoot yourself back a little bit and come off of your pillow. The last part of this practice is going to be to come to Savasana. If you've been on the floor from the previous pose, Shavasana, then you can actually stay here and lie down for Shavasana if you like. So you might want to use your bolster again for this, or your pillow. And just kind of push the chair off the mat. And you might want to slide your pillow underneath your knees. You can use anything for this. It can be a couple of blocks or block type substitutes. You can roll up a blanket or use any kind of pillow. So from here you're going to lie yourself down. So just kind of rolling yourself back gently to come to the mat. Having something under the knees just provides a little bit of support for the low back. If you don't like it, of course you don't have to use it. If you're lying down, you might scoot your shoulder blades a little closer together. Maybe turn the palms of the hands up. And bring your attention inward, letting the breath and the body soften. And this might be how you choose to end your practice. If you are not comfortable on the floor, if you have been sitting up, then you have an option to take your Shavasana sitting upright in your chair. So I actually recommend using a big pillow bolster kind of thing for this to place in the back of the chair. And this just helps you sit up a little bit taller without having to expend the same muscular effort. So all the things we talked about in helping you sit up, in Shavasana you really want to let your body relax more. So using this will help you maintain that posture without having to expend as much muscular effort. So if you need to use a couple pillows here to feel like you're sitting up comfortably, that's just fine. So sitting up, like before, with the hands in the lap, you can really lean back on that pillow. Let the shoulders drop away from the ears. Soften in by closing the eyes and relaxing the breath. And so, of course, as always, I invite you to take a Shavasana for as long as you like. I really hope that you are able to just maybe transition this right into sleep or some prolonged period of rest, or maybe you're getting ready to go on with your day. So if you want to add a body scan to your Shavasana, you could scan from the top of the head down to the feet. That's a little more grounding, maybe something to kind of lull you into sleep. If you're moving into another activity for the day, you might scan from the bottoms of the feet up to the top of the head, which is a little bit more energizing. So if you're doing this practice or parts of this practice during your workday, that might be a better idea for you. If it's just your practice in and of itself, or you're doing it at the end of the day, that kind of grounding down rooting might serve you better. So however you have chosen to end your practice today, I'll leave you here. I thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.